Good morning. It is Tuesday morning. It's actually October 1st. And I am 22 weeks pregnant and 3 days, something like that. Me and George are on our way to the doctor's for our last anatomy scan, the last half of it. But I'm kind of running a little late, so I'm gonna get going now. It's that time of the year where the morning's dark, so fun. Greetings from the hospital. So, previous clip, we were on our way to our fetal echo. That was Tuesday. It is now Saturday, just about afternoon, and I'm in the hospital. It's been a series of events this week. Excuse my hair, I have yet to shower. Yeah, let me see if I can get comfortable and I can probably explain this better. So, are you ready to go home, baby? Yeah.
You ready to go home?
Yeah. I'm kind of scared of being away from nurses and stuff, but yeah.
If anything, we can always message your OB or your nurses, and I'm sure they'll make room for us to come in.
Yeah, that's true. Hopefully, within the next 2 hours, we get to go home. Yeah. So this isn't the best angle, so I apologize and hope you excuse the way I look. I have been in the hospital for, this is my 3rd day now, and I'll just go back to the beginning. So, Tuesday, me and George went to our normal MFM visit, so maternal fetal medicine visit, to get our fetal heart echo on baby, and that alone was a long appointment. He always sits in the most inconvenient of positions, so I was literally there for like an hour and a half getting an echo. I believe I've mentioned in previous clips that I do have a short cervix or shrinking cervix, and I was put on vaginal progesterone to help slow it down or stop it, which that was doing good for about a month. At my fetal echo, they did another cervical check, transvaginal ultrasound, and my cervix shrunk down from 2.6 centimeters to 1.5, 1.4 centimeters. And an average cervix normally during pregnancy is about 3 centimeters, close to it, a little more, maybe just under. And I went in at 22 weeks and 3 days. I was bawling my eyes out, because from my understanding is a shrinking cervix, I don't want to say it's normal, but it's not uncommon for people to have them where they shrink a little bit. But once you get underneath like 2 centimeters, it's kind of a dangerous zone. Now, when it comes to that, you usually have 2 options. Is to do vaginal progesterone, which what I was already doing, or you can get something called the Cerclage, which is a stitch they do on your cervix, and they stitch it closed. and they stitch it closed, and that stitch should hopefully get you far enough to where if you do go into preterm labor, it should hold baby in ideally long enough to where they can still do okay. They would still need to be in the NICU, but they would have really good chances. Thing with that is most places have a cutoff of doing those things at 24 weeks gestation. And at the time when I met with it wasn't my usual MFM doctor, but when I met with them, they did not feel comfortable doing it because there's so many risks that come with getting the cerclage. You're at risk of possibly having your water get punctured and breaking, which will for sure lead to a very early preterm pregnancy. And at around 22 weeks gestation, the chances are really slim. Not impossible, but realistically not likely. And we had this conversation with the doctor that was there, and I was a mess. And I was crying, and I felt like the only thing they did was put me on bed rest. They sent me home with a letter to give to my employer, because I do medical assisting now at this moment, that I am no longer eligible to work and I need to be put on leave until further notice. So now I'm out of a job. And from Tuesday to Wednesday morning, I was just crying, panicking, and praying all day. There was a lot of information to take in that I was very likely to either lose my baby within the next couple of days or have him possibly within the next 2 weeks. Granted, there's some people who've been on progesterone and bed rest, and they surprisingly made it very close to full term. Not all the way, but very close. But it just didn't sit right with me. I didn't feel comfortable with just the sitting and waiting, because if I wasn't already on progesterone, I would have given it a shot. I have already been on it obviously through IVF, I stopped. And then the first sign of my shrinking cervix, a little over a month ago, they put me on it again. So I'm like, already been on it, my cervix is still shrinking. My baby's gonna come too early. So Wednesday I tried calling to see if I can speak with my regular MFM, but there really wasn't anybody in office. So I cried more Wednesday, feeling more hopeless, but we continued to pray about it, that, by some chance we have some miracle with our baby. But I wasn't very positive. Thursday came around, and my MFM doctor said that she's more than happy to see me. I can go in and talk to her in person, or I can have her call me on the phone. So I called my husband because he was at work. I'm at home because obviously bed rest, and I'm on medical leave basically. And I called my husband, I'm like, hey, my doctor, or at least my MFM doctor, is okay with seeing me today. Do you want to go? And he said yes, so he left work early. And we went. Are you still pumping? I guess so. Sorry. So we went, and I asked my doctor, or my MFM doctor, is there anything else we can do? Can I double my progesterone? And she basically just said that she didn't feel comfortable doing it because of the risks. She said the only time she thinks she would be okay with it was if I started dilating. But she's like, I know you're doing your progesterone every day. So I don't think you're dilating. I don't, not saying you're not, but let's just check you and look. So she said I can do either a physical cervical check today, or I can do an ultrasound. So this was Thursday. Yeah, this was Thursday. And I already had a follow-up with them again this coming Monday. She's like, so if I do your ultrasound today, which was Thursday, I'm not going to do another one Monday because I don't want to irritate your cervix to where you do start dilating. But if you want, I can do a cervical check today and do an ultrasound Monday. So that's what we opted to do. So she did, have me lay back. She did a cervical check. I was about 1 centimeter dilated. Just 3 days after, not even 2 days after my fetal echo, where I was closed, and she immediately kind of she was very calm. I do like my normal MFM doctor. She's very straightforward with what she thinks. Very direct, but also kind. And during this whole time, I'm like crying during this whole appointment. She's, very kind during the whole thing. She said, I'm going to send you to our main campus hospital, which is where I'm at currently. And she's like, because that's where the only place we do the cerclages and where we have a NICU. And I'm going to send you there and we're going to get the cerclage. Granted, sorry, I'm talking really slow because my head hurts and I'm tired. Granted, while we were waiting before we met with our MFM, it was like 2.5 days where we were just scared. Me and my husband were praying that we'd have a sign. Either, oh my God, I really want this cerclage, but if we can't have it, then just make it evident that that's not what's needed. But if the cerclage is for us, I'm hoping you don't put us in a worst case scenario, but just get my body to the point where they're going to say, okay, you need it. And I was barely 1 centimeter dilated. So they sent me same day to this hospital. We went home and we packed a hospital bag real quick. And we got here Thursday, a little around 1 or 2, so Thursday afternoon. They got me and my husband checked into a recovery room. And they took a urine sample. They did blood work. They put an IV. And because they wanted to make sure they tested for infections, which the labs and the cultures took several hours, there was no way they were going to get me in for the procedure that day. Also, I had eaten and I needed to fast for a minimum of 8 hours. So they said, we're more than likely going to do this tomorrow, so just rest up. They did put a belt for monitoring contractions on my stomach just to make sure I wasn't having contractions. My MFM, maternal fetal medicine doctor, did tell me I was dilated, but I was not in labor, that she could tell. So she's like, don't panic. You're still okay so far. And it's a plane or a helicopter? I think it's a helicopter. But, we got sent here. We were in a recovery room. They were supposed to send us to a room like this shortly after. But the hospital's full. So we stayed in a small recovery room overnight. And I was worried that I was going to be more dilated. But for whatever reason, being at the hospital and knowing we had a game plan and that, God answered our prayer in the sense that we had a sign of what needed to happen. I felt more at peace about it. So then, next day comes, Friday morning. I am getting ready for my cerclage. So I tested negative for all the infections. Obviously, I didn't have any STDs or anything. But they just do it to make sure. And they gave me a spinal. So for the cerclages, it can go 1 or 2 ways depending on if you have a hospital how your hospital works. Some people put you under an anesthesia. The hospital I'm at does not do that for cerclages. They give you a spinal, so kind of like an epidural, except I'm not sure how the needle is for an epidural, but the spinal tap doesn't stay in your back the way an epidural does. It's very temporary. It goes in, gives you numbing medication. That's it. And it only lasts for like an hour and a half or 2 hours. So they gave me that. I was fully awake, and I was awake for the whole procedure for the cerclage. I was fully numbed from the waist down. I could still feel touch, but I didn't feel pain. I didn't feel pressure. Nursing team, everyone, the cerclage procedure took like 15 minutes, but with prep and everything in the OR room, I was back there for maybe like 40 minutes. Recovery was rough. I had a lot of lower back pain from the spinal, and that kind of traveled up my back. I did have abdominal pain. Like, I don't know, I felt like my body got hit by a truck once the anesthesia wore off, which it wore off about an hour after the procedure itself, once they put me back in the recovery room. And that's when I started getting all the aches and pains. They did put another contraction belt on me to make sure I wasn't contracting, because with this procedure, of course, again, risk of breaking the water, which they didn't do, doesn't mean it still can't happen afterwards. They also stated I could get an infection from the cerclage, and if that does happen, they do have to take it out, because if you do have an infection and it does get into your body, you do have a high possibility of ending up in the ICU, or just you can have the cerclage done and it can still trigger contractions and then still put you into preterm labor. So there's like these really high risks that come with this procedure. I thankfully wasn't contracting after the procedure. They checked baby's heartbeat every morning so far, and he's doing well. I was just not feeling good. They gave me, like, for whatever reason, I had a lot of burning sensation down there. It's not really common, but it could have been from the medical soap they use to, clean in that general area before they do the procedure. And I had a lot of burning going on there. So then, my urine sample, it didn't show signs for a UTI, but there was bacteria in my urine culture. So they then put me on antibiotics by IV. Yesterday was rough. My husband helped me a lot going to the bathroom. I didn't really take showers because I didn't think we were going to be here that long. So I took like a lot of hot rinses, especially to help with my back. And it was a bit of a rough recovery. It did kind of suck. My body hurt a lot. But once I was able to actually, go pee on my own and walk, they moved us up here to a antepartum room. So George actually has a couch to sleep on. The first night he didn't have a couch, so we shared the bed. So and today is Saturday morning. I feel much better. We were hoping to go home today, but it turns out my iron is extremely low, and they said it's really hard to detect unless it gets to like a really severe stage, because it's usually just fatigue and tiredness as symptoms, which you get during pregnancy. So now I'm stuck here with another IV, with getting an iron infusion. So I'm stuck here for one more night. It is my third day. It will be my third night, and we're hoping to leave tomorrow morning. But as of right now, no period cramps. I haven't had any contractions. And so far, it's been 24 hours since the procedure, and baby has stayed put. I had one period like cramp, like one really strong one last night, which worried me, but it didn't come back. And cramping is normal after this procedure just because your cervix gets irritated. They just want to make sure there's no like contractions happening, which there hasn't been any. And George is not here because I sent him home. I wasn't sent him to Target because it was closer, but I sent him home to get us some shower products so we can actually shower. Because we were hoping just to go home this morning and shower at home, but we're going to stay here one more night. I want to shower. But we're so blessed and we're so thankful. And my head just hurts a lot. But we were seriously scared that we were gonna have our baby super early. And I don't say this to scare anybody, but the stats at 22 weeks are not very good. They're very not good at all. So before we even got the procedure, we met with the NICU team here, which is actually one of the best NICUs in the whole state of Wisconsin, which is Freighter and Wauwatosa. They're a level 4 NICU. But we had to have the tough conversation of baby's care if he were to be born within the next couple days, the next 2 weeks. So they did go over decisions of, some people don't want to see their baby suffer, so we'll just hold them, or people will go with medical intervention, and there's some people who kind of meet in the in-between. We are one of the in-between people, so we would want medical intervention, but we wouldn't want him to suffer with certain things. Not in the sense of like if when babies are born that early, they do have there's higher chances for learning disabilities and all that. That's not what we mean. If our baby ended up having a learning disability, we would not care. We would love him no matter what. I think it was more like some of the medical intervention that would make him suffer, like physically, like compressions and stuff on a baby that tiny. We wouldn't want to do. But he's okay right now. He's in there right now. I'm still going to be on bed rest till I'm 28 weeks pregnant. And we've reached 23 weeks today. So we're close, yet so far it feels like the doctors are confident and went well. They can't guarantee how long the stitch will stay. I don't think anyone can. Our hope is that it stays till 28 weeks. Ideally, maybe even 30. All the doctors are pretty realistic, and they stated that they don't think he'll make full term. So our due date's probably out the window. But the goal is to get him to at least 28, 30 weeks. So he'll probably still be a preemie, but he should do pretty good, where he won't need that much medical intervention at all. So this is kind of where we're at, and I'm tired, and it's just been a really hard 4 days altogether. Thankfully today's probably the easiest day out of everything, mentally, emotionally, physically. We've had so many people praying for us, our families, obviously our parents, our grandparents, our siblings, cousins, our pastor, his wife, our church family, our extended church family, like our original churches from our hometown knew. We've had, my aunt has churches and church family in California where she's had all those people praying for us as well, and we've had so many people praying for us. And I really think that was it. And obviously, of course, we have our medical professionals. Like, of course, we're just so happy that, you know, God willing, we were put in a place with the best NICU, really good sets of doctors. I got a surgeon who's never broken a water in her career of doing cerclages, but of course she still had to discuss all those risks with us. We were just in really good care and with really good, very well educated people, and I really thank God that we were maybe not for this specific situation, but even though we had to go through it, we were put in the best care out there for this state. So it's been a long couple days. Not at all how we wanted our fetal echo to go. Not at all how I wanted my face or my skin to look after. But I'll probably record a little bit later. Maybe get George's input. But right now I have a terrible headache. And the nurse suggested he bring me coffee or a soda, because I think I'm having a withdrawal from caffeine. So we will see. Hey guys. So long time no see. Kind of a bit of a life update. I'm home. And I am currently sitting in my basement because I'm working on some stuff. But yeah, so currently it is like a week and 4 days post procedure. 3 days post procedure since I've got my Cerclage. And I'm doing pretty good. Recovery for the first couple days was a little rough. I was pretty swollen down there. It kind of hurt. I do advise if you do get a Cerclage, if you're not hurting, cool. But if you have a peri bottle already, you're going to need it for when you have a baby regardless. Go ahead and buy it. That kind of helped me a ton. We did meet with my OB on Monday, and she said she is okay with seeing me every 2 weeks, just for my own, like, mental sanity. But they did say they will not be checking my cervix any longer just because they don't want to irritate it more than they should. So really just going in every 2 weeks would be just to meet with my OB, check that baby's okay, if there's any updates on symptoms or if I have any questions, is pretty much all it's for. So I have that. It's next week, Monday, I believe. And we're also working on building the nursery. I didn't film the first part of it. I'm going to try and film the rest, but I'll get you guys updated on that. And that also is why I'm in the basement at the moment. So our nursery used to be the guest room, and next to our guest room was our office. And the office was bigger than the guest room simply because me and George both had our desks in there. Now the office is being converted to the guest room because our previous guest room is now going to be the nursery. So, if you don't know, I did a lot of like crafty stuff. I used to sell stuff on Etsy, which I might be bringing that back up and having that going again. But all my crafting stuff is in the basement just because it takes up so much space. So that's why I'm down here. I'm feeling really good post Cerclage. I think also for my own sanity, it's just going to be better for me to not get my cervix checked, because if I just keep seeing it super thinned out, I feel like I'm just going to be anxious and have no way of sleeping properly. So right now, ignorance is bliss, and just knowing I have the Cerclage and I'm not having any like weird discolored discharge. Discharge was pretty watery and like pink and then brown, but it was really transparent and like watery, slippery, which that was kind of weird. That died down a bit now. They say like increased discharge post Cerclage is normal, and I'm still on modified bed rest. My OB did say she's probably not gonna have me go back to work until I'm 32 weeks. At that point, me and George are deciding if it's even worth me going back to work for anywhere between 4 and 4 and 8 weeks while super heavily pregnant. I am waiting to get the FMLA paperwork sent over to me from my job so I can give it to my doctor, so that I can stay on leave for the meantime. But yeah, we're still kind of deciding on what to do. The other thing is, our goal was for me to stay home and be a stay-at-home mom, at least for a year or more. I don't know exactly. I know at least a minimum of a year. We haven't talked about past that yet, once baby got here. And because George is thinking of just having me stay home now, because again, is it really worth me going back to work for 6 to 8 weeks while heavily pregnant? So that kind of put us about 3 to 4 months early in our plan that we weren't financially ready. I was hoping within like these last 3 to 4 months of working that I can knock out as much debt as I could, so that way George wasn't stuck with a whole lot of it, but now he's just kind of stuck with all of it earlier. We may be selling a vehicle just because he can't afford to take care of both. I've always worked, I've always had a job, I've always took care of my own like car, phone, like all my personal bills, and now just kind of dumping that on him really earlier than planned is kind of put us on a break on a lot of other things. So we are going to keep my car. It is a more expensive car, but it is the larger car and essentially the family car. We do live in a larger county. We don't necessarily live in the city. I would hate that. But we do live where it's really busy and it snows, and it's just safer to have a larger car, in our opinion. So today we might find out if we sell the car or not, at least George's car, and then I will for sure be a stay-at-home, in this case, pre-mom. So I'm trying to find ways to keep me busy that don't have me running around like a chicken with their head cut off. So I am thinking about reopening my Etsy stuff, but I don't know, it's a lot to keep up with, and it's a lot more work than profit, so we'll see. But that's just kind of my update. I'm doing really well. I was really tired after the procedure. Like my body felt lethargic, even though I personally wasn't actually sleepy tired. But if you do get this procedure, just take it easy. Every doctor and medical facility has different recommendations and everything for these things, just because I've been part of many Reddit groups for the Cerclages and shortened cervixes, and everyone's doctor says something different. This is just my situation. But yeah, so I'm just gonna kind of sit here and kind of finish these orders. Not even order, it's an order that I have, and we'll go from there. If I do end up opening my shop, I may show you guys, but we'll see. Just trying to manage bills one day at a time. But we'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!